Welcome to the Newtown Big Dreams podcast, an interview-style talk show that's your gateway to the fabulous and fascinating people who relocated to start a new life. Whether you're new to our podcast or your city, our fellow neighbors from across Canada, North America, and the entire English-speaking world share their stories of reaching new horizons and big dreams. So sit back and relax as we navigate in-depth and intimate conversations with entrepreneurs, thought leaders, executives, creatives, and anyone who can share their story about their Newtown big dreams. And now, here's your host, Luke J. Menkes.
Good morning or afternoon, everybody. It's about 11 o'clock in the morning here on the West Coast, April 1st, 2021. And today I'm with Chuck Sharpsteen. He's in Centennial, Colorado, which is near Aurora, Colorado. And Chuck is a former marketing agency tech guy, and he's turned into a lead generation Facebook ads expert. His efficient approach to ads has allowed him to cut clients' lead costs by as much as 80% for 3 years straight, to get a 500% return on investment on information products with cold traffic. And he even showed a Facebook newbie in the financial space how to cut his leads down to $7 each from $250 each with his simple Facebook course, 80/20 ad schema. And Chuck, welcome to the show. So you didn't grow up in Centennial, right?
I did not.
Where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I actually grew up in Miami, Florida, which a lot of people, when they hear that, they wonder why I moved from sunny Florida to snowy Denver, or Denver area, on purpose. And I did do it on purpose.
Right.
And yeah, the reason I did that is I grew up in a family business. I don't know if you've ever seen street sweepers, sweeping the streets.
Sure.
And if you've ever seen the smaller version of those that do parking lots and garages and things like that.
Yes.
That's what I grew up doing. I think I had a backpack blower or leaf blower strapped on my back when I was like 8 years old and went out and helped my dad. So
right.
I grew up doing that. And one night, it was Halloween night of 2005. I was working with my dad in the middle of the night. And, that he was almost 50. And it was like, I just looked at him and I was like, man, I don't want to be doing this when I'm his age.
Right.
So, and it was crazy because I actually knew at that moment, I'm really close with my family. Never thought I'd leave. Never thought I'd move. I actually had tears in my eyes because I knew at that moment I was gonna leave. And I went home that night and I Googled cities with high growth potential because I wanted to get into real estate.
Okay.
And it was Denver, Colorado, and I think somewhere in Arizona. And the tiebreaker was I had just broken up from a long-term relationship, so the tiebreaker was the city that had the higher singles rate, which was Denver.
Nice.
I ended up buying a one-way plane ticket that night, and flew here, and ended up using that for more prospecting where I was going to live. After I told my family and everything, they ended up giving me their Suburban, and I had about $500 in my pocket and trash bags full of my clothes in the back of the Suburban and drove up here later. Cool. So, that's how I ended up here.
That's a great story. So that was 2005, I think.
So that was the end of 2005. I ended up moving here in January of 2006. Then I got my real estate license and all that. Ended up doing that for a little bit. As you know, that's when the market started to tank and everything went bad. I did short sales. After. Yeah, I did short sales, and then I got into marketing online because I wanted to generate my own leads for my real estate business, which learned how to do that. Then that moved me into affiliate marketing, which led me to meeting some people who started an agency back in 2013, and they brought me on as their tech guy because I was the nerdy, dorky one. And I just did that for about 5 years, and then went out on my own about 3 years ago. Yeah.
Very cool. So is Centennial close to Denver?
Yeah, it's pretty much the southeast corner of the Denver metro area. In fact, there's a big highway that goes all the way around the Denver metro area called the E470, or it's the E470 on the east side and the C470 on the west side. Mm-hmm. And I'm almost touching the the end of that. So pretty much the southeast,
Right.
Denver metro area. Yeah.
If I remember Denver correctly, it's kind of on a flat plain, but right next to the Rockies. Is that right?
Yeah, we're right next to the foothills, and which is like the entrance into the Rocky Mountains. So yeah, I mean, every summer I take my Jeep Wrangler into the mountains and find some trails in there. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's way more my speed than Miami. I never went surfing or anything when I was a kid. I didn't really enjoy the beach that much. I mean, I did a little bit, but this is much more my thing out here. So I love it. It's awesome.
Beautiful. Yeah. So we live in an offshoot of the Rocky Mountains here, the Okanagan Valley. So it's full of mountains and lakes and rivers and vineyards and stuff. So it's really beautiful. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. I lived on the ocean for many years, but I think I kind of like this better. So,
yeah.
So are you still a real estate agent?
No, I haven't done that. And probably 2009, 2008 was the last time I really did anything.
Okay.
And then, I got into marketing, kind of affiliate marketing. And then, like I said, started an agency later with a couple guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been doing that ever since.
Right. So what's the trick to online marketing? So a lot of people, I've spent a lot of money, and for me, it's been kind of hit and miss. Sometimes, I'd advertise open houses, and sometimes a lot of people would show up or respond, and other times, like, nobody would show up, and I didn't really know what was effective or not. It was mostly trial and error. So tell us about your system and what you learned.
Well, actually, a lot of it is trial and error.
Right.
But, one of the tricks is having a good offer, an offer that people actually want. And I think that a mistake people make sometimes, especially when it comes to Facebook ads, is they think the ads themselves, the Facebook platform, is going to be their saving grace. It's going to be this magic thing that they just flip a switch and it just brings in, leads or sales like nothing. They can just sit back in their lounge chair and sip on, a margarita or something. But,
Right.
It's not that easy, especially anymore. It's more and more competitive as the years go by. I mean, even 2 years ago, it was a lot easier than it is now. Especially with the way Facebook, has changed their guidelines over the past year. With COVID, and we had the election last year, they just really were kind of on edge with their guidelines, and there were account shutdowns and ad shutdowns for no reason, and it's been crazy. But as far as the secret, the secret is there is no secret. The secret is having a good offer, having the right people to put that offer in front of, and having a great message to convey that offer. Really,
right. And there's something about the way they're set up. So you could have a great offer, a great ad, but you could be spending the money in the wrong place. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. And that's what I show in my course, 80/20 ad schema. But there is definitely a optimal way to set it up. But to me, that's the easy part. It's really the copy and things like that, the offer and the copy, that are going to change things for the better.
Sure.
But yeah, there is definitely a certain way to set it up. I just wrote an email to my list yesterday about one of my clients I did an audit for a few years ago. And he was running his own ads, and I think he had spent like $60,000, and
wow,
he was getting a sale like every $6,000, which was insane. And just because I switched from the technical optimization he was using, the campaign optimization or objective that he was using, to a different one, I brought it from $6,000 down to $60 on acquisition.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, was that like jet airplanes, or what was he selling?
No, it was actually how could I say, like a construction tool, basically, for setting tile. Yeah.
Wow.
So and it was maybe, I don't know. It varied in price range depending on how much people bought and what they bought. But he definitely was not making a profit with his ads.
Wow.
And he was making like a 3-to-1 on the front end with me.
Wow. Amazing. So it starts with good copy, you said, and good offering. So can you tell us a couple of tips of what makes good copy in a Facebook ad?
Yeah, absolutely. I think some people look at the ad copy as an afterthought. They go in into the ads manager, they start trying to figure out how to set everything up. Because once you log in, there's so many options. In fact, the first option you get is the campaign objective. And there's 11 different options there. And I only recommend picking one. That's conversions campaign.
Conversions.
Okay. Yeah, that's the first mistake people make.
Why is that? If I could just pause you there, like, what's the reason conversions is the one that you?
So conversions is the best when you're looking for a lead or a purchase, because it's actually set up to do exactly what it says. It's set up to convert. For instance, that guy I was talking about, what he was doing was just boosting his post from his fan page. Which technically a boosted post is an engagement post, which means it's optimized to get engagement. It's optimized to get people to like, comment, share, and click on it, basically, not to get people to convert on the other end of a click. So he was getting a lot of that, but no people that were willing to do anything after the fact. Whereas a conversion is set up precisely to do that. It's set up to convert. And Facebook is so good at doing what you tell it to do, because it has so much data on us. In fact, I have kind of a crazy story about that.
Sure.
I don't know if you remember the Cambridge Analytica scandal that happened a few years ago.
Yeah, a little bit. Was the 2016 election had something to do with that?
It had something to do with, I think, Trump's campaign buying data from them and then using it for their purposes. It ended with Mark Zuckerberg in Congress sipping water and trying to look like a human being for a couple weeks. But after that, there was a reporter in the UK that got his hands on all the data, and it was like somewhere between 30 and 80 million people on this list. I don't think anybody knows the exact number, but that's kind of estimated what it is.
Wow.
And randomly off of this list, he calls me. He gets my information and he calls me off of the list. And he basically tells me his story. He's a reporter in the UK for whatever agency. I don't even remember what it was. And he asked me if he could ask me a few questions. I'm like, sure. It sounded cool, especially doing what I do. It's kind of ironic that I'm someone he called randomly off of this list of tens of millions of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, figure he already had my cell phone number from this list. He had my first and last name, and that's how he greeted me when he called. And then so he starts asking me further questions, and he goes, in 2014, did you live at this address? And he had my exact address. And I was like, yeah. And then he's like, in 2014, did you live with someone named Curtis? And I'm like, yeah, that's my brother. I live with him, or he lived with me while he was going to college here. Mm-hmm. And then this is the crazy part. He goes, would you say that you're a little more introverted and your brother is a little more extroverted? I'm like, yeah. That kind of blew my mind that this is a guy that had no idea what the data meant. He's going off the bold header at the top of these millions of entries. And he's able to discern that I was more introverted than my brother was. Wow. So imagine the Facebook, and this was 2014 data, by the way. So I'm sure it's a lot crazier now. Imagine Facebook's algorithm that's able to, it not only knows what every single one of these data points means, but it's able to compare those data points to its 2.5 billion or however many users are on the system in a split second, right?
Wow.
And since it can do that, it knows if one person or these people are likely to do an event, like become a lead for someone's lead magnet or buy a specific product, it can now take the data, the similarities between those people, and go off into its system and find more people exactly like that are going to be likely to take that same action. So it's very good at doing. My whole point of this is it's very good at doing what you tell it to do. So if you tell it you want it to convert a lead, or you want it to convert to a purchase, it will go and it will find you people that are very likely to do that. But if you tell it to find engagement, it's going to find people that just like to engage and don't really like to do anything else. Or if you tell it to find traffic, it's going to go out and find people that are likely to click a link but not really do anything else after that. So that's why I think conversions are the best campaign objective to use.
Yeah, for sure. I guess maybe I could think of something like a political campaign. Maybe you want traffic for that because you're not really converting them until election day. So maybe you want them to go to the website and get engaged in that way. But yeah, if you're trying to sell something, you want a conversion.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. So, that is interesting. So you choose conversions, and then I cut you off. You were going to say something after that. So you want to choose conversions, and then what's the next step?
Yeah, the next step after that is basically what Facebook calls the ad set level. So this is underneath the campaign, and the ad set is basically where you choose. There's a lot you can do in there, but basically, the main thing you're going to do is choose who your ad's going to be shown to.
Okay.
So it could be people who have a specific interest. It could be a certain age range. It could even be, like I was talking about before, Facebook can go out and find more people that are like another. So if you have a list of buyers already, you can upload that into Facebook. You can tell Facebook, hey, go find the closest 1% of people in the United States that are like my list of buyers, and it'll go out and do that. And you'll have a brand new audience with 2.5 million people that you can start showing your ads to. So that's basically what you'll do at the ad set level. You'll also tell it to optimize for certain events. So, if you're doing lead gen, you can tell Facebook optimize for this lead event, or if you're going for purchase, you can tell Facebook optimize for this purchase event here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the next step after that is the ad level, and you can have multiple ads underneath the ad sets. And that's really where you're going to get into the copy and things like that. And I think that's where people, after they've tried to figure out exactly how to do all that other stuff, it's all new, it's all hard. By the time they get to setting up the actual ad itself, it's kind of like an afterthought. It's like, all right, this is the easy part. I'm just going to say, get my thing here, and they leave it at that. And then they turn it on, and it doesn't work, and they wonder why. But really, that's the most important part. Yeah, the other stuff is the easy part.
Yeah.
The hard part, the art in it, is figuring out what to say to your prospects and what's going to make them engage and convert. And I do have somewhat of a system. I'm a very analytical person, so writing ad copy does not come easy to me at all. So I've had to kind of get a system in place to do that. And really, what I think you want to focus the most on there is think about either the main pains that your prospect is going through that your product or service can solve, or the main benefits that your product or service gives to them. And right, if you have multiple, which a lot of product or services do have multiple pains and multiple benefits, write those down and then test those in the ad and see which ones cause people to engage and convert at a higher rate. That to me is the thing that's going to give you the best bang for your buck. It's going to really change your life more than just setting up the ads a certain way, because anybody can go in and hit the right buttons.
Right.
But getting the right message in place is a lot more beneficial if you do it right.
Right. Well, realistically, Chuck, I mean, you've been doing this for years. For someone like me, when I go in there, it just seems overwhelming. Like the amount of choices and things like that. Like, it's probably second nature to you now because you've been doing it for so long. And I agree with you. Like, writing copy is hard because you got to think. You really have to think about it. It's not just hitting certain buttons. You've got to, be a good writer. You've got to not be too verbose, but right. Do you recommend, like in your case, would you hire someone for that? Like the Fiverr, they have these services. Some people do copy. Some people do ad management. Do you write the copy for your clients?
I do, because like I said, I think that's what really makes or breaks a campaign. Right. So I do that. Now I do talk to them a lot first. A lot of the copy I write is directly from their mouth. When I get on a call with a new client, I record the entire call. I'm asking them all these questions. I have a list of questions I ask. I'm trying to dig deeper into their origin story, things like that, why they do what they do, what it does for their clients, how it does it, things like that. I'll have sometimes 1 or 2 hour calls, and then I send it to rev.com. I have it transcribed, and now I have a whole Word document of all the things they said. And then, so what I do after that is I just start pulling things out and arranging it in a way that sounds good.
I see.
As far as, how I'd recommend someone going about it. I think it's always good to hire someone that's good at what they do, but if they're more on a budget, I think the easiest way would be to maybe get a simple course on how to set the ads up yourself.
Okay.
and then do your best to write the copy in a way that I was explaining. Or, if the technical side of things is too much, just write the ad copy yourself and then hand it over to someone on Fiverr or something like that. Because I can almost guarantee you someone on Fiverr is not going to put the time and effort into figuring out your market and your product and things like that. You are probably going to be the best person to write the ad copy cost effectively in that case.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I think it's probably better to take a course. Like you said, is that the course that you offer?
Yeah, my course is geared towards beginners, and it does teach all that. It basically goes from A to Z, someone that doesn't know anything, and to having an effective ad up and live. And the first thing I go through is basically the process. I told you it's figuring out who your market is. It's figuring out who you are, what your product or service is, and the first module is writing the ad. So you have the ad written before you even get to inside of the ads platform. And I think doing it that way takes a lot off your plate, because by the time you get into the ads manager and figure all that out and you get to the ads portion, you're literally just copying and pasting what you've already written, and you've gotten that really important part out of the way first. So, yeah.
So is it better to have a lot of copy in an ads or a short amount?
I think it depends on market to market. I'm a fan of longer copy.
Okay.
So my stuff tends to be longer. And honestly, that was a problem that I never used to have, is having long copy. Usually I wondered, what on earth am I going to say? I wondered how other people wrote these long sales letters and things like that. But now my problem is trying to cut it down. A lot of times I'll write 1,000 word ads and I need to figure out how to get it under like 800 or get it down to 300 to see if I can write a medium length copy. And sometimes I'll try even shorter copy where it's just the first 2 or 3 lines on an ad, and you can see the whole, all the copy right above the image, and there's nothing more than that. So I would test different lengths. So, like I said, maybe test 3-line copy that doesn't have the see more button. Maybe test like a 300 word or so version, and maybe test a 700 or 800 word version. But like I said, I'm a fan of longer copy. And if you're going to go that route, write the longer copy first, because at least the way I am is I need to get the hard part out of the way, because I know I'm going to get lazy after that. So I can't go from easy to harder. I need to go and start with the hard thing and work my way down. So I recommend writing the hard stuff first and get the long story out of the way.
Makes sense.
Cut it down later.
Okay. So here's an example. I know a guy who wrote a book about 12 years ago, and it's basically for middle-aged guys, and it's relationship advice, like long-term relationship advice. And he still sells a couple $1,000 a month of this book net, like after paying royalties to Amazon and whatnot. But he said to me, he's like, well, with good advertising, I should be able to double that. I mean, people are just coming out of the woodwork and buying this at a rate of a couple $1,000 a month. So I don't know much about Facebook ads. Like I said, I've done them for real estate and really mixed results. So what sort of ad copy, just off the top of your head, what kind of an ad would he produce? What sort of targeting and keywords would he put into that ad?
So, yeah, I mean, if it's relationship advice for people already in relationships, targeting could be, what types of things do people in relationships like? And I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but maybe, I don't know, or like men who like rom-coms or something like that. I'd really have to sit down and think about that. But you want to think about what do they enjoy? Me and my girlfriend, every night we have like Dove chocolate after dinner. So, maybe that's something you could target. You want to think of things like that.
So it's more like guys who have tried to be romantic and stuff like that, but they've been, in a relationship for 10, 15 years and it's kind of going stale. And they're getting to a point where they want to be more of, do masculine stuff. And she hates the stuff that he likes and he hates stuff that she likes. And it's a book on psychology, really just helping guys understand that, women think a little bit differently in general. and how to communicate without giving up your masculinity, but how to communicate effectively. Sort of like Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. I don't know if you heard of that book.
Yeah,
but
I remember that.
That was like communication, book on communication, but it really kind of convinced the man to be more like the woman, communicate more like a woman, get into romantic comedies and stuff like that. This book is more, no, you keep doing your man stuff, but understand where she's coming from, and she can understand where you're coming from, you know? So,
yeah. And in that case, if they're already kind of like in that solution stage, a great way to target those people is think of other books in the space or other guys that are talking about this type of stuff, and see if they're available as interest in YouTube. For instance, I know Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Wouldn't be that, but let's say that book was in the same market as he's putting his product out to. You could choose Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus as an interest, and you can target people that are interested in that, or whoever the author is for that book. I don't remember their name.
John Gray.
Yeah. So that guy, he probably not only wrote that book, but I'm assuming he wrote a bunch of other books on the subject. So, but people that are interested in him might be just interested in that subject in general, and that might be a good thing to target and try out.
Cool.
So that's the kind of way you want to think is, where is your prospect? What makes your prospect unique from everybody else on Facebook? Like you could say, oh, my prospect likes Coca-Cola, but everybody likes Coca-Cola. So you're going to just target everybody. But someone that likes a book that's in that wheelhouse might, they're going to be more, that would be something that makes them unique. Other than Coke. For instance, if I was going after serious guitar players, I probably wouldn't just start putting, I wouldn't put Nirvana or something as as an interest, because a lot of people like Nirvana. But if I put something like Paul Reed Smith guitars, which I have one right there, that's something only a serious guitar player is going to know. That's something that makes a guitar player unique from everybody else. Right. Because they live in that world. You know what I mean? Or, if I targeted people who like Joe Satriani or something. Yeah. So that's kind of how you want to think. You want to sit down and think, what do they go through in their daily life and what's unique about them apart from everybody else? Yeah. And that's the kind of things you want to look at and use for targeting in Facebook.
That makes sense. Now this one might be a little tougher, real estate. So, I'm guessing you got really great at this after you left the real estate business, and it was probably almost simultaneous. You started to get really good at the advertising, and real estate was crashing at that time. But when I look at real estate ads, it seems a little bit saturated. I see there's a problem that most people either own a house or rent a house, right? Mm-hmm. Anybody who's in purchasing something. So to me, it'd be kind of hard to narrow that down. Do you like houses? Do you like sleeping indoors? Well, yeah, pretty much everybody does, right? Yeah. So how do you narrow that down? Below hundreds of millions of people in North America.
Well, so yeah, that would be probably a little more location specific, I would imagine. Okay. I don't have any realtor clients. I haven't had any in a few years. Okay. But it really depends. Are you looking to sell, to look for listing side of things, or are you? Yeah, okay. So if you're looking on the listing side of things, you want to think about what makes people different that own a house than people that don't own a house. One is, I actually saw an interesting way to target this lately, and it's lawn care. People interested in lawn care would be a good place, a good thing to target for that. Because if you think about it, why on earth would someone in an apartment be interested in that at all? But someone that owns their house and they have to worry about their own lawn, they're going to have an interest in that. And it's little things like that you need to think about. So that'd be a great, broad interest you could target. Although when you do get to location specific targeting, it does really constrict the system. And start to drive costs up. So you really want to get more broad interests when you get to certain metro locations and things like that. And it depends again from market to market, but like I said, the lawn interest would be a gigantic one probably. So you could probably layer that on top of a location specific thing. And then, sense. Whatever age range you think your average client is going to be in, potentially. But again, you also want to give Facebook room to breathe because like I said, it's very good at finding certain people. So don't constrict it too much. Don't try to find like this tiny little niche that you think is perfect. If you think your average age range is going to be 40 to 55, I would open it up to at least 35 to 60 or something like that.
I see.
Or 35 and older, and let Facebook figure out who it needs to target. And then, make changes from there. If you're getting too many people over 65, then bring it down a little. So yeah, that's kind of how you'd want to take that on.
Yeah. Now, if you're setting something like that up for somebody like a book author or a real estate agent, or I'm not sure what type of clients you have, how much does that cost for somebody to do that? If they've got, a reasonable size budget for ad spend, it probably makes sense to hire an expert at a certain point. Is it very expensive, or what does it cost?
So the ad cost or my cost?
Your cost. Like I know I have a general sense of what ads cost. Like you can spend whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can spend as little as $1 a day, and you can spend 10,000 a day.
Right.
So what is your cost in that equation?
That varies widely. I mean, I know people who do things as low as $500 a month. And
that's your fee.
No, that's not mine. I've known people that do it that low, and I don't know how on earth they scale that. But then I know people that have charged $10,000 or $20,000 a month to manage one account.
Wow.
For me, I'm around the like $2,000, $3,000 per month level, depending or higher, depending on what I'm going to do. But just Facebook ads right now around $2,000 a month. And then depending on if you want to add other ad networks and things like that, or like I said, I was a tech guy, so I can also handle things like the funnel, email automation, stuff like that. So if clients want to add that in, then we just add that into the monthly retainer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if let's add a $5,000 budget, does it make sense to pay you $2,000 a month and $3,000 on ad spends, or is that out of whack for?
So yeah, it really depends. I do have a minimum. I usually tell clients you want to be spending at least $3,000 or $4,000 a month to even think about hiring me, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense. You don't want to be paying me more than you're spending on Facebook.
Right.
But on the other hand, I have had some that have kind of unique offers, and they do manage to make a profit. One of my clients, they only spend about $7,000 a month now on ads, but I don't know exactly how much they make, but I've been able to see inside their CRM and things like that. I know it's at least minimum $500,000 a lot of times. So, and that's not all for my stuff, but I'm just saying that my stuff turns into that and down the road. So they're able to turn the small ad spend into quite a recurring revenue. So
cool.
It just really depends.
All right. So for those of us on a smaller budget, tell us a little bit about your book, where we can find the book. How many pages is it? How long does it take to go through it?
Yeah, it's not a book. The course I was talking about is just a digital course. It's online.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, if they're interested, they can just go to my website, whiskeyneat.com, just like the drink, whiskey with an E. And if they go there, they can download my free campaign balance checklist. It basically tells you the 4 numbers you really need to keep track of to know whether or not a campaign's working. It also shows you where things are broken. Rather than scrapping like the whole thing and just changing everything, you can find where a specific part of your funnel that's broken. And then I have ways on fixing it and things like that. That's completely free. It also puts them on my daily email list. And then they'll get more information about my course after that. Actually, if someone does get on my list and they end up subscribing to my monthly digital newsletter, which is less than a Netflix subscription, I do right now. I'd give away your listeners a free copy of my 80/20 ad schema course along with the monthly subscription. So
beautiful. Is there a promo code for that?
Nope. Jake, they can just get on my list and then just reply to me in the email, tell me that they came from your podcast, and I'm happy to just throw that in there.
Beautiful. What's the value of that?
Right now it's at $247.
$247. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So, how did you come up with the website name, Whiskey Neat?
Whiskey Neat. I went to a branding expert when I was at the agency that I was with. They had a friend that was a branding expert, and so she was just helping us out. And the first thing she had us all do is go to 20 friends or family members, and ask them to describe you in 2 words. And so I did that, and everybody came back with something different. Almost everyone said smart, but then the second word was completely different for each person. But so I went with my brother. My brother said, shoot, now I can't think of what he said. He said clever yet rugged. And I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I was like, that's what I want to be seen as, you know what I mean? So I decided to kind of go off of that. And I thought of things that kind of gave that clever yet rugged feel. And the 2 things I came up with was Gunmetal Gray and then Whiskey Neat. I thought kind of give off that vibe. Cool. And so that's how I came up with that. And the domain, it was already owned by somebody, and they were trying to sell it for like $6,000.
Right.
So I just started talking to the guy, offered him like $100, and he's like, no, I want 2,000 minimum. And then I think a year or 2 later, it was getting near Christmas, and he's like, do you still want the domain? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I'll take 500 for it. And I'm like, okay. So I bought it for $500.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool domain that I got for.
Do you like whiskey?
Oddly enough, I tried to get into it after I started the name, but I could not get into it. So I'm more of a craft beer drinker, I guess.
Fair enough. Awesome. Well, Chuck, thanks so much for your time.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Newtown Big Dreams podcast with your host, Luke Menkes, and his authentic guests. And we love our listeners and hope you subscribe now to learn more about the amazing journeys of our incredible guests who relocated to find a new town, big dreams. And remember, make your dreams big.